March on the colors. We now have Chaplain Boucher for the invocation.
Please join me as I pray. God of mercy, justice, and remembrance. Today we gather with heavy hearts and unwavering resolve to honor the men and women who are taken as prisoners of war and those who remain missing in action, whose stories are unfinished, whose names are whispered in hope and whose absence is felt in every corner of our nation. We remember the courage of those who endured the harshest trials, far from home, stripped of freedom but never of dignity. We remember the silence of those who vanished without a trace, and the families who lived in unanswered questions, holding on to faith through the long years of waiting. Lord, wrap your arms around those who suffer in uncertainty. Bring comfort to the mothers and the fathers, the sons and daughters, the spouses and siblings who still wait for word, for closure, for peace. Let them feel the strength of a grateful nation standing beside them. May our remembrance today not be fleeting, but a living promise that we will never forget, never abandon, and never cease in our efforts to comfort every soul who served with honor. Let our voices rise in unity, calling for truth, for justice, and for the return of every missing hero. Grant us the wisdom to teach the future generations the meaning of sacrifice, instill in us the compassion to support those who have carried individual wounds, and give us the courage to act, to search, to speak, to stand for those who cannot. May our prayers be more than words, may they be light in the darkness, hope in despair, and a sacred vow that no one is ever truly lost when they are remembered. This we ask in your precious holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Color guard, present the colors. We will now have the national anthem sung by our one and only, what's her name now? Is Jasmine Jackson. Would you please come forward?
Oh, say, can you see? What so proudly we hailed
the colors. You may be seated. You know, the only thing better than full cloud is a standing only crowd. I can see that today very nice. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I would like to welcome everyone today. National for the National POW Recognition Day. It's a beautiful day in Jacksonville, and you have to think the weather folks out there that turned on the hurricanes are waiting us. So we've got a beautiful day on the show. A special welcome to General Marcel, United States Marine Corps. He is now the Executive Director of the Department of Navy, Department of Florida's Department of Veterans Affairs, and he's no stranger here. He served and talked to us 2 years ago. So welcome back to you, General. We have some city council members here. Councilmember Lloyd Brown, and also Councilmember Nick Howard has good chance. Randy White here. He's over here every year, and he is our local councilman for the district here. Also, welcome to Ashley Smith, who is from the Congressman Aaron Dean, the local district office. We will welcome her. We have Harrison Connors from the City of Jacksonville Military and Veterans Affairs, and he is representing our Mayor, Dr. Beebe. Harrison, you have the floor.
It's good to see everybody in church today. I'm sure you all learned the same thing, right? Standing room over. There you go. It's great to have some of my staff with me today. Acknowledge our council people that are here. It's good to see you come here with us today. And Fred Burley rode with the motorcycles this morning. Chip Parker was being our table. So it's good to have our staff out here working today. Captain Beebe, I asked the chaplain to do a special prayer for the Gators for tonight. Come see you. Do you know I'm director of military affairs and veterans part of the city of Jacksonville. In our lobby here in City Hall, Mrs. Hawks, POW flag flies 365 days a year, and we have Scott Spikers, POW, that we are embraced on permanent display here in City Hall. So we never forget, and we thank you, board of directors. Thank you for never forgetting and continue to do all the work that you do. You're doing God's work. Provides our city with the opportunity to stand alongside families, veterans, and service members in renewing our pledge to account for all who remain missing. And whereas in Jacksonville we take this day to remember the sacrifice and support the families who continue to wait with courage and faith, and to show our gratitude by ensuring their loved ones are never forgotten. And whereas our city joins with local veterans organizations, military commands, and community partners in raising the POW flag and holding ceremonies to reaffirm Jacksonville's role in the city that stands with our service members, past, whereas we're honoring the sacrifices of POWs in the United States, Jackson strengthens its legacy as a city that values service, family, and community. And we recommit ourselves to preserving the stories and the memories of those who gave so much for our freedom. I, Don Deegan, by virtue of the authority vested in me, as Mayor of the City of Jacksonville, do hereby proclaim September 20th, 2025, as POW MIA Commissioner. Thank you.
Also, I'd like to welcome Jean Chelsea with the C2C and our major sponsors out there. We, the city of Jacksonville, certainly contribute to everything we do out here. We have the 3 stars: Black Star, White Star, and Red Star. All 3 really big time for us. And I can tell you that the White Star, you look out on the thing on the display out there with the aircraft. We've got this A7, which we brought in from Arkansas, and it's refurbished by Flight Star. And then now working on the S3 we brought in from Cleveland, Ohio. And you wouldn't believe that everything was in so many pieces. It took several different trucks to hold them down here. But believe it or not, it's like one piece right now. It looks like it's ready to fly. It's not going to fly. Other sponsors, again, with Landstar provided transportation for both the A7 from Pocahontas and also the S3 from Cleveland, Ohio. And they both of those outfits have done this in kind. So hats off to them for providing all the services without the cost of the organization. Other sponsors we have the Jaguars come through several times for us, and Rain Rigging, which has been down there many times for us, unloading the aircraft and putting the aircraft back together, lifting it over the fence, and getting it back to style air rigging. And we got gear services and outside all local here that's done a great job supporting us. Our next group are Ben Dorsey. They come in numbers. The meeting is 300 of them. And our work leading riders just completed a tour through the city, crossing all 7 bridges, escorted by our 5 police officers from Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And we thank you guys for bringing us home safely. But I also always wonder, I'm an aviator, fly formation, I'm up in the air, I go up, I go down, it's not like what do we need to do? But when you see 300 bikes driving around the road at the speed that they travel, and it's a close formation that they make, I just wonder how they survive without having to crash. I don't want to know. But they tell me they understand what they're doing, they're not going to crash, so that's all good. Next, we have the listening action and former POWs are Indian and proud today. You will please stand. Thank you. Thank you. Every day, breaking the levels of come up. How about vets? I know we got a couple, but would you please stand up? Very good. Please stand up. When you think of Recognition Day, September is recognized as remembrance. And I can tell you that we here We remember missing in action those who never come home. And I have to say that PDA, if you're in the county agency, is bringing home every day. They're employed throughout the whole world, training and excavating sites and bringing people home. But most of all, we got to remember families that are waiting for their loved ones to come home. And it's very, very important. I think September will be Remembrance Month. I think more importantly, I think every day of the year should we remember our sacrifices of our military. Our next event is the Navy ROTC from Jacksonville University conducting a ceremony for missing man day. Guys, you're on.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Those who have served and those currently serving are ever mindful that the purity and enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy daily gratification, there are others who have endured or may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and loss. I call to your attention this small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed services are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as POWs and MIAs, whom I account for. They are unable to be with their comrades, loved ones, and families today, so we join together to pay our humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. This table set for one is small, symbolizing fairly with one prisoner, a service member alone, against his or her suppressor. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing their purity and their intentions to respond to the country's call to arms. The black napkin represents the sorrow for those who are still missing. The single red rose in the vase signifies the blood that many have shed and sacrificed to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep the faith while waiting their return. The yellow ribbon around the vase symbolizes our continued uncertainty, our hope for their return, and a demand for proper accounting of those who are not among us today. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless volunteers and families as they wait. The glasses are buried. They cannot partake in their meal and their inability to share a toast. The chair is empty. They are not here. The candle is reminiscent of the light and hope which lives in our hearts to eliminate their way home, away from their captors to the open arms of a grateful union and a grateful nation. The bottle represents the strength gained through the faith to sustain us from those lost from our country, found as one nation under God. Let us pray to the Supreme Commander that all those who are not with us here will be back within our ranks today. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifices. May God forever watch over them, protect them and their families.
highlights. He enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1981 and retired after 37 years in the Marine Corps. And I might point out that he enlisted in the Marine Corps as an enlisted man, Marine, and retired as a Navy general. That's quite a compliment in itself. He served 2 tours in Iraq and another in Afghanistan. He commanded the general of the 4th Marine Division, which comprised over 18,000 sailors and men. His final assignment was as chief of staff for the U.S. Pacific Command, which composed of over 360,000 folks. I gotta say that was an impressive tour, career for anyone. And he didn't stop there. He went on to work in healthcare industry for another 22 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome General Hudson.
It's truly an honor. I'm on a 21-day trip right now. I call this a layover, all right? I'm laying over in Cecil Field right now. All over our nation, all over Florida, supporting our 1.4 million veterans, their families, and their survivors. It is an honor to come back here, this chapel. It's very, very touching for me. My dad enlisted in the Marine Corps 1954 in Jacksonville on his way to Paris Island. My father-in-law got out of the Navy at NAS Jacksonville in 1952 as a Korean War veteran. So my family's connected here. Also, just want to say that I'm here on behalf of the governor of our great free state of Florida. He is a Navy combat deployed veteran, and our lieutenant governor, who's new, is an Army combat deployed veteran. Florida is the only state in the nation that has both a governor and a lieutenant governor who are combat deployed veterans. They understand the significance and meaning of this day. They do. All of us, like them, me, were overseas, and when we heard our national anthem being played and sung like Jasmine did, we were still wondering. We were keeping it the home of the free because we were the brave, trying to keep us free. And I want to recognize this young lady for how you sang that national anthem. I want to think about how those who were POWs, sitting there waiting to be rescued or get home, they were wondering, did we still have a land of the free and a home of the brave to save them? And in their mind, I can only imagine hearing that national anthem being sung like you did. So I'm going to recognize you on my coin. I've never done this before, all right, for someone to sing the national anthem. I'm going to give this to you. I did 37 years in the Marine Corps, and there's a lot of things that touched my heart. A lot of it was flag-draped caskets being sent back home to families. But something that really hurt us over there was when we couldn't find a valley brother or sister, and we didn't know where they were. And we did nothing but everything to try to find them. And I know we have families here that are still wondering about their loved ones. All right, that's why this is so special. I got 2 things I'm going to do. I'm going to read the governor's proclamation, and I talk fast. I'll read it quick. And then I want to tell you a personal story. So on behalf of our governor, whereas National POW Recognition Day was established in 1979 to honor and recognize our brave service members who are classified as prisoners of war or missing in action, and whereas the day is commemorated annually on the 3rd Friday of September, and whereas Florida commends and affirms our nation is not deterred from pursuing missions to fully account for our service members who are still missing and unaccounted for, and whereas Floridians stand with POW, MIA, and their family, and will always support those who serve our nation in the defense of our values that we hold dear. And whereas the POW MIA flag is flown daily over the Florida Capitol in Tallahassee, and Florida State Veterans Homes, and Florida State Parks to honor POW MIAs in their service. And whereas in 2021, a 7-foot replica of the POW MI bracelet was installed at Florida's Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Tallahassee, and whereas Jacksonville is the home, where we are today, of the National POW MI Memorial Museum, and whereas POW MI Recognition Day in Florida is an opportunity to honor all American POWs and those still missing and unaccounted for from all wars, and to remember our Gold Star families and seek a full accounting of the status of their loved ones. Now, therefore, I, Ron DeSantis, Governor of the State of Florida, hereby extend greetings and best wishes to all observing September 19, 2025 as POW MI Recognition Day in Florida, and I ask all of our Florida citizens to observe this day with reverence, and that's what we're doing here tonight. Signed by Ron DeSantis. You see on the back, this is the original one, and I'm going to leave it here. That's what this was going to say. So. Personal story. Thank you. When I was the J5, the Chief of Staff at U.S. Pacific Command, now called Indo-Pacific Command, one of the things I got to do was to travel to Hanoi, Vietnam. And I met with the government of Vietnam, who was working hand in hand, literally, with our joint JPAC, now the Defense Personnel Accountability Agency, DPA. But we worked hand in hand with forensic specialists, scientists, people who were looking for remains, looking for crash sites, trying to find our missing, to validate that they were no longer POWs. I got to go over there and went out to a site and got on my hands and knees. It was honorable for me to go through that looking and helping. I got to go to the laboratory. It was at Joint Base Harbor, Pearl Harbor. Amazing what they're doing there with the research that they have. And I was doing that, and that was in 2017, early in 2016, 2017. Retired, came back home to Florida. The governor asked me to do Veterans Affairs, which I honorably had done. And then last year, I was asked to participate in a ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. And I was like, oh, well, I better get a Marine Corps haircut, which I did, like the one I got today. And I put on my dress blues. I'm going to tell you why. On May 3rd, 1968, a U.S. Marine Corps A-6 intruder, call sign Billboard 18, manned by First Lieutenant Thomas Quill and Robert Avery, participated in a radar-controlled bombing strike mission on enemy targets in North Vietnam, May of 1968. But after that A-6 aircraft left the target site, no radio transmission or radar contacts were ever made with the aircraft again. The aircraft did not return to base. For several weeks, radar and visual searches for the aircraft were conducted, but were unsuccessful in locating the crash site because it was in a heavily defended enemy territory along the coast of North Vietnam. In 1992, so think about that, 1968, and not until 1992, the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency, in conjunction with the government of Vietnam, identified the crash site of that A-6. And they did interviews with the local villagers who were still living there in the same village, and several elderly villagers remembered shooting down an American jet. And they took the investigators to where they disposed of the two American pilot bodies. They later told their government officials they disposed of the dead, but they were afraid to tell anybody when everybody was there. They thought they would get in trouble. It was later, years later, that they, through further interviews, were able to tell their local government, who then told us. Lieutenants Clem and Avery were memorialized on the courts of the missing at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, and their names were inscribed on the Vietnam Veteran Memorial Wall, Washington, D.C., and they're both names out of that wall out there, the traveling wall. Then, after nearly 30 years of additional forensic analysis work, investigative study, and further villager interviews, finally, positive identification was made of both crew members. And in April of 2024, I was honored to participate in the dignified burial of the pilot of the aircraft, Marine Corps Captain Thomas Dean Clem, at Arlington National Cemetery, in a very special session just for that in the Tomb of Unknown Soldier. U.S. Marine Barracks 8 and I provided a full rifle company in dress blues, a 21-gun firing detail, flag pointing detail, and the President's own band in their dress uniforms were there for this burial to help commemorate the dignified burial of Captain Thomas Dean Clem. One of the most honorable things I've been able to do in my 37 years in uniform, and then after that, now that I am serving our veterans, was present a folded American flag to the family of Thomas Dean Clem on behalf of the President of the United States, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and a grateful nation. When I got on my knees in my dress blues and gave it to the brother of that pilot that had been missing since 1968, and all of his family was there, I could see the peace that finally was in their hearts. Tears are tears, happiness is sadness, but I can see it has some closure. And that's what I hope for all who are still missing. So we're still working on this, we're still doing this, and we're still finding those who are missing. It was an honor for me to participate in that. Also, just want to say in closing how much I appreciate the young cadets being here, young Sea Cadets. Y'all make me motivated. Y'all look great out there, and whoever's in charge of y'all, come see me afterward, because I got one more point I want to give to that group. Okay? So thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for waiting and being patient. Thanks for being patient, waiting for this to start. I ride a Harley. If I've been riding all day and there was barbecue, I'm going to eat. Don't get between riders and their chow, right? I'm a Marine, right? So, but think about those who are sitting in captivity for years. We didn't spend any time waiting to start this ceremony.
Thank you, General, for your kind remarks. Appreciate that. Appreciate you returning to us here in Seatsville. Our next event happens to be a special musical selection. POW check. See, you got it.
Back in 2002, there was a movie called We Are Soldiers. Towards the end of that movie, there was a song that I think has touched the lives of a lot of us.
and sacrifices of those who honor and inspire us to live with purpose and gratitude, lifting one another in unity and compassion. May their legacy remind us to strive for peace and understanding in all that we do. This we ask in the holy name and pray, amen.
You see, before we close the ceremony, there's people behind the scenes that make things happen. Beautiful selection of set up outside, not a parlor into that, and we don't always recognize the people that have to work in to do that thing. And I want to recognize the events committee, all the work that went into that, and if you would please stand up, Mary Ann, our chairman of the events committee. We got the rest of the crew out here. We got Bruce Kelly. We got Rich Watson. We got Bruce Kelly. We got Richard Beebe. We got Sean Dottery. And back here, all helping this end to do the job. Say that, please. Whoa, all right. Those are the folks that makes my job easy. They do the work, and I just praise them all the time for everything they do. Thanks, folks. Appreciate it. Now, you probably don't get to hear where we are with the project, and I'm going to only take 2 minutes to do this. But we've come a long way. We have landscaping and irrigation coming on the end of October. So the place is going to be pretty out here with all the landscaping and the grass in and the trees in and all everything else done and the sprinkler system going and keeping stuff alive. So it'll be great to have that done. And we hope to finish up phase 1 by the end of the year. That being all 4 airplanes out there on the pads, all the irrigation system in, and then start planning for phase 2. Phase 2 being the memorial itself, starting phase, get that thing done, get it out here so more people can get out, see what we're getting done. And I have to say that getting a project this magnitude off the dead center is no easy task. First of all, you got to convince people that you are solid, you know what you're doing, you're focused, and you can get the job done. And that takes some convincing sometimes. So the money won't come as quick as we need it to go. But I'm convinced when phase 1 is done, you can see everything out here, they start believing that we know what we're doing, we're committed to making this thing it should be. And say that, looking at what we've got already, we could say that $3 to $4 million have been raised in money itself and in-kind services. A lot of in-kind services have been done out here, and so far everybody participates to get that better. I guess the last thing I have to say, and another event we got coming up, and that's the golf tournament November 17th. And I'm telling you, it's not to fill that fast. If you want to get in on this golf tournament, you better get in fast because we typically have 144 players. And that's the maximum we have in any tournament. So if you want to play this tournament, you better sign up quickly. And I say that if you got any extra money, your pockets. Anyway, we can certainly use all that you have. Other than that, we conclude the ceremony, and I do appreciate everyone